One of the other philanthropic causes we support and is homelessness. And it's a huge concern how much these numbers actually coincide, because I think it's 50% of the population, which is 550 to 600,000, have been in the foster care system at least once, and 40% of the kids on foster care have been homeless at least once by the time they are 19. I honestly get speechless every time I think about that. It just breaks my heart. It does.
Throughout this process, what we have learned about these teens is there are things and stuff that they need, right? And we'll talk about that. But the intangible things are what is most important. I received a phone call this weekend from a young lady that we work with. And she said, "Hey, I'm going to a friend's house weekend, and I wanted someone who cared about me to know. And I realized you're the only person that I can call." And she's only been in our program for about 3 weeks, Tammy. And so she immediately understood that when we make a commitment to her, we're going to follow through with it. And she needed someone to say, "Hey, I care about you enough to make sure I write down this address and say, if you need me, I'll come running."
You're listening to the Real Estate Runway Podcast, powered by Quattro Capital, where we're all about alternative business and investment strategies to help you amplify life and maximize wealth. Here's your host, Tammy, the operational maestro.
Welcome back, Real Estate Runway listeners. This is going to be a great episode. I'm Tammy Sutton, your host for today, and I am thrilled to introduce to you Carrie Durard, a foster parent of over 6 years focusing on teens and an adoptive parent of one phenomenal guy at the age of 16 years old who is doing absolute amazing things in life. Carrie is co-founder and director of Jonathan's Path, an organization that supports teens in foster care right here in our community. And you may already know I did a highlight episode on Jonathan's Path, as foster care is one of our philanthropic causes we support through the Quattro Giving Fund. But today, we're going to talk about the fact that all it takes to change the world of a teen in foster care is the opportunity of a new path. And folks, this is the heart of this organization and a true mission for Carrie and her family. As always, if you enjoy today's episode, please like, share, and pay it forward. Help others to hear this incredible message. So without further ado, Carrie, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you, Tammy. Good morning to you and good afternoon whenever you're listening to this.
Right. So, hey, to get us started off today, please walk us through the story of Carrie and tell us how Jonathan's Path became your, what you called it, a passion project.
Passion project, yes. So my husband and I just found ourselves many times having young people around us that needed a soft place to land, a firm ground to build new roots, some guiding paths to make sure that they are not falling off and constantly getting back on. And so we sat down one day and we said, we're doing this for youth in the community that we know through our own children. But what if we went through the foster care system? So we started investigating it here in Middle Tennessee. And one of the things that we learned is our state, the state of Tennessee, is one of the worst states in the country for permanent placement for teenagers. Yeah. And in Williamson County, where we live, when we first started this journey, we were the only home in Williamson County that would accept a teenage boy for permanent placement. And we were kind of taken aback by the whole situation. We had a teenager in our home at the time, and we knew the normal struggles of a teenager with parents, with a foundation, with a good school. And we did not truly understand the depth of the suffering that is currently happening. And so as we started investigating, going through this process, we had our first youth that came into our home at the age of 12, and he stayed with us for about 18 months. He returned home, which is the point of foster care, to try to reunify families. And yet he still calls every other week and stays in touch with us, which is a fantastic feeling. Taylor, who you alluded to a few moments ago, and I know you know Taylor and Jonathan from your school days. And Taylor came into our home at the age of 16. And then at the age of 18, we were able to adopt him permanently into our family.
I love that.
You know, Tammy, throughout this process, what we have learned about these teens is there are things and stuff that they need, right?
Right.
We'll talk about that. But the intangible things and stuff, the intangible things are what is most important. I received a phone call this weekend from a young lady that we work with. And she said, hey, I'm going to a friend's house for the weekend, and I wanted someone who cared about me to know. And I realized you're the only person that I can call.
Wow.
And she's only been in our program for about 3 weeks, Tammy. And so she immediately understood that when we make a commitment to her, we're going to follow through with it. And she needed someone to say, hey, I care about you enough to make sure I write down this address and say, if you need me, I'll come running. And that kind of sums up the heartbeat of what Jonathan's Path does.
That just makes my heart swell. It does.
It does. And it swells and it's painful at the same time, because I think about myself. We've all been a teenager. You know, I was a knucklehead teenager. I think I come from a long line of other knuckleheads that have done some things. And I look back, I'm like, how did I make that through? And then I realized, I had my mom rock. She was amazing. I had my dad, another rock, amazing. That's how I made it through. But if I didn't have them, would my path go to a different direction? Probably. And so what we do is we have that foundation for them. We have that parenting as a mentor. I know that you know that very well as a mentor to some of these youth.
Yes.
It's also very real to us that there's a gap between what is offered in foster care and DCS and what they can get. And so we have the path line that they can call, raise their hand and say, hey, I made the soccer team and I need new cleats. Now, the state can do it, but it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. And we work very closely with the state. So they understand that they have their own hurdles and challenges they're working through. But sometimes these kids need it now. And that's where the path line can really kind of say, I've got you a pair of shoes. Tell me what size. Tell me where you want to go. We've got you. Don't worry. You're going to be great on your first practice. And giving them that worth back.
Yeah. So many times the individuals that work for the state care foster system, they get the bad rap as they just don't care. But that's not actually true. What is the true current state of the foster care system? Because like you said, they can get these things for them. They just have more red tape they have to go through. It's not that the foster care system doesn't care, but what's truly happening over there right now?
You know what? That is such a good question, because you're right. The stigmatism towards the state being bad, some of it is earned, right? Because it is a big shift that's been going in this one direction and has been made for the level of kids and the number of kids that were in the system 20 years ago. And it hasn't really evolved with the children coming in. It hasn't evolved with the number of children coming in as well. And so thank goodness for the new commissioner. We are a fan of hers. She is making headway, but it is like steering a ship and making a big U-turn, which is going to take time. Is every social worker built the same? No. That's like saying every teacher I had growing up was the best teacher on earth. They weren't all the best. I got several of the good ones, but they're not all the best. It's like saying everyone at your job is the best person for that job. Look, we are all human, and DCS is made of humans. So the good parts, they're really, really good. And some of our teens will tell you, if it wasn't for DCS, the outcome would be
Right.
way worse for them. Getting the things they need sometimes, like soccer shoes, money for yearbooks, clothing in general.
Clothing.
There is just a red tape process, as with any business when you request money. Being Jonathan's path and being foster parents ourselves, being adoptive parents, we have a foster son in our home. We understand that sometimes time is not in your favor. You need
Right.
it now.
Yes.
And so that's why we have the path line to say, look, I know they're working on this, but if it's an emergency, you need it now, call us, we'll take care of it. And that's where we work very well with the state. And we're trying to help them so that they can work on their process and make
Mhm.
it better and easier for the foster parents and youth to get what they need as well.
Right. And the statistics are absolutely heartbreaking. I was reviewing them again last night, after our meeting, and it's a long time crisis, as you said, but I feel like it's not getting that much better, because one of the other philanthropic causes we support is homelessness. And it's a huge concern how much these numbers actually coincide. Because 50% of the population, which is 550 to 600,000, have been in the foster care system at least once, and 40% of the kids on foster care have been homeless at least once by the time they are 19.
Yes.
That I honestly get speechless every time I think about that. It just breaks my heart.
We had, Tammy, we had a kid that reached out to the Path Line and said, hey, I'm 18 years old. I tried the couch surfing approach because I was tired of being in DCS, which this is what happens very often.
Mm-hmm.
He's in what's called extension of foster care, or EFC. And there were no more rooms available at that time where he could have transferred from the couch to what we call another organization's bed. So they were going to take him to the mission at 18 years old. And he reached out to us. He said, yeah, I'm going to be homeless tomorrow. And I'm thinking, I know that they don't want to do this, because I called the social worker. She said, we are desperately trying to find an option. It's not like everyone is like, off you go, or washing your hands. That's not how it works. Everyone is desperate to find places for these youth, but there are not a lot of places available in an instant like when these youth need. So he called us. We were able to set him in a hotel that was nearby, bring him to our home and work with him during the day until we were able to move him into an apartment. Now, that's because he called and raised his hand and said, hey, I'm about to be homeless. But Tammy, most don't raise their hand or know about us yet. Or maybe they're just so tired of the system that they're like, I would rather be homeless. And then those statistics that you're speaking of, they keep growing and growing and growing.
So what is Jonathan's path that's doing that is this new? Now, we've talked about the path line, but let's talk about what the true mission is of Jonathan's path. Well, how are we going to approach this differently to, I believe you said one time, turn foster care system on its upside down? What did you say? I loved that saying.
That we're flipping the script. We're going to turn it upside down.
Flipping the script. Yes. Yes.
We're taking our experience as foster parents, as adoptive parents. We've been in this for 6 years, which makes us old in the system for being a foster parent, because it's normally 1 or 2 years. It's not an easy thing to do. And so we're saying, okay, here's the recipe that we have learned, tested, and tried. And that is taking a youth that has been identified as aging out, meaning return to home is no longer an option on their care plan. Okay. So we know at some point they will be aging out of the system, and then they have a choice to go into EFC, extension of foster care, or on their own. We also recognize that if you're in a foster home at 18, many parents will say, okay, you're 18, off you go. So what we're doing, and the state has come alongside of us in a way to say, yeah, we agree with this approach because it's never been done in our state before, is we want to open homes that has a home or host family that lives there 24/7, 365, like a family, with 3 teens starting about the age 15, 16 that we know will be aging out. And we will start working on these skills. We learn the earlier we can swim upstream to get these kids and start getting them prepared and getting them loved on and the path built and the understanding of what they need earlier, the better our odds are of launching them into adulthood. Not at 18, by the way. At 18, they're not being kicked out of the Jonathan's Path homes.
Not a single child I raised was ready for life at the age of 18. And I thought I pushed them hard. So,
it's just not a thing, right? It's not something for youth this day and age. And maybe we did it at 18 and maybe we were okay, but it's very different. And we can't say, well, I did it, so they should be able to do it. Well, we didn't have half the crap that they had to deal with too. So we're saying in our homes, 3 youth, a family, we're going to build those paths, put in those learning opportunities, start widening their knowledge of the world around them. And 18, is it college? Is it trade school? Is it going to work? Is there a passion that we can tap into? And they will stay home in our homes until they are ready to launch. Now, our goal date age is by 25. I don't think it's going to take us by 25 because what we have learned, tried and tested and true, is that if you start doing the work early, they will launch better and earlier than what they're doing now. So the state sees this as a viable, scalable plan. And so our goal is to start opening these homes this year, hopefully being our first home, and then expanding it in Middle Tennessee and then out through the state.
What an incredible approach this is going to be. I mean, I foresee the vision in my head, the future. They're all coming back for Christmases. This is the place that they can come back to. This is, I just love this idea. And I know that this is going to work. We just have to get this going. And this is going to be the year that this happens. But I also know that you are giving all of you to this, all of you, because I'm sitting here watching it. So how has your superpower contributed to your success thus far with Jonathan's Path?
My ability to talk and connect with these teens keep me going. The phone call on Saturday, I was working and on Jonathan's Path and on our capital campaign that we're going to be kicking off. And when I received the phone call, I'm like, okay, just keep going, just keep pushing, because that is a life I know we are turning around, and that is someone that's going to be a better citizen in our community. I've got to keep pushing. And so that's my superpower of really understanding that what the small steps that we're making are making major impacts in lives and major impacts in our community. And we're not talking thousands of kids at a time. Let me be very clear. We want the quality impact on a child, one child at a time. I'm not looking to change the lives of 1,000 next year because we can't give that equality. We want to say, I see you and we're going to work together, and I see you, and then we're going to expand in a way that we can continue to give that level of approach and that level of care to each child, because we know that is the success. It's not in the numbers.
No, it's not. So as with all superpowers, there's a kryptonite.
Yes.
There's a kryptonite.
I don't remember. If you ask me this, I don't know what I would have written, but right now I'm thinking daylight.
More. No, so more. What is... So I know that this has not been easy. So I know that there has been things go wrong.
Yes.
You know, so when that does, What's that kryptonite like? Because we're dealing with children's lives here, and I know that that's hurtful.
So it's, not every child is going to want to walk the path. And I think that's the hardest part for me is when you give your heart, soul into someone you love. And I do love these children. When they disappear on you, that's my kryptonite, because I'm thinking,
Yep.
oh, and we had a youth that disappeared for 4 months, and I called every jail, every hospital, every morgue, once a month to just see if I could find him. And I think about 2 months ago, he resurfaced. And I couldn't get it out fast enough when I got him on the phone. I'm like, where have you been? He goes, Miss Carrie, I'm so sorry. He goes, my phone was lost and my only phone number was you. And I was like,
oh.
And he was moving around because he was being a little transient. And I thought, oh my goodness. At least he came back. He's back in the program. He has a job now. Like, at least he came back. But those moments of I've lost him, or that moment of I don't know if he's gonna walk this path yet.
Right.
Those are just heartbreaking.
But what you said is he knew you were there.
Yes, he did.
And he came back.
He
came back. And there may be kids that are not ready, but we're giving that message, we're giving that foundation, we're giving that opportunity, and that's what I love about Jonathan's path. So what can folks do to get involved with Jonathan's path? Because not everyone, has a check to write. Not everyone has, what can we do to help?
There are so many things, actually. One of the easiest ways is social media. Like, post, share our social media, follow us, stalk us. I mean, whatever you need to do to make sure that you are aware of what's going on, but also to let the people that you know in your circle what's going on as well. I always say, talk about foster care, talk about these youth, not as if they're criminals or kids that have done something wrong, but are victims of trauma, and that they have a right to have a good life. And so help us change that outlook for these children just by having the conversations. The other thing is, yes, you can volunteer. We have lots of events coming up with our youth, without our youth. You can certainly, the donations always help, because with our Pathline, we have a very big need of youth that are needing a variety of things: mental health, medical, shoes, clothes, food. And then, of course, with our capital campaign of opening our first home, we will need support in that, not just monetary, but also designing the home. If we have any decorators, we want this home to be the home that they can't wait to come home to in the afternoons. We want each young person to have their own room that looks like them.
Yes.
We want to make sure it's furnished nicely. We are looking for partners that are in the automobile industry, because these youth can't get a job without a car and be independent. And so we want to make sure that that's available to them as well. So there's many different levels. If you just think about two things: what does it take to have a company, or what does it take to share a company's information? So however you want to do it, by word of mouth or by social media. And then two, what would you do for your child? That's what we need to.
And I'm going to give a little plug here. The Quattro Giving Fund, we accept cash and complex gifts. And when I talk about complex gifts, guys, I want you to think about donating shares of a company or an asset before it's sold, because it'll minimize your taxable gain and maximize your giving potential. And that is powerful, folks. So don't forget about that. We can do great things for this organization that way. So I know that you have already kind of plugged it a couple of times. There's so many good things happening, a lot of great things coming up here with Jonathan's path. So why don't you give us all the exciting news about this capital campaign?
So we are very excited to be rolling out this capital campaign. It is our first, and we have many different levels of sponsorships available to us, with what is being called very rich benefits. We understand that Jonathan's path is not something that everyone understands. Everyone doesn't understand foster care. So we want to make sure that our sponsors and the people that want to be a part of our community really get the max amount of exposure, the max amount of benefit and partnership and understanding how they can change the lives of these youth in Middle Tennessee. We have a page on our website up now, the capital campaign. I think it's like right there in the main menu at the top. We are working with, like you said, the Quattro Fund, which you can get. That's also on our website as well. Mm-hmm. So you can give online with ACH. I don't know what you call it, but check writing or electronic checks. Look at me.
Electronic checks.
Debit, credit cards as well. And if you need to mail a check, we can give you the address where it's on our website as well. So yes, there's lots of different ways to get involved this year and lots of event sponsorships as well.
So if our listeners want to reach you, where can they learn more? What is your website?
It is jonathanspath.org. That's JONATHANS. And then on there, you will see my contact information, which is also Carrie at jonathanspath.org.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tammy. Appreciate it.
I can't wait. And listeners, I hope you really like, share, and send this on. Let's spread the word for Jonathan's Path. Thank you for coming today, Carrie.
Thanks, Tammy. See you.
We hope this episode was insightful and brought value to your day. If so, please be awesome and leave us a 5-star review. Find out how Team Quattro can help you at thequattroway.com and scroll down for more info. Until next time, this is the Real Estate Runway Podcast.